reach anywhere in the shortest possible time. And now turn your eyes to the skies as the fighters run in from your right. Coming in hot, approaching the Moran Emergency Landing Facility are the mighty Su-30 MKI. Flying in wick formation, this is the Arjun formation of number 102 Squadron, led by Group Captain APS Saini.
अब आप सभी अपना ध्यान आकाश की ओर करें। दाहिनी ओर से मोरान आपातकालीन लैंडिंग सुविधा की ओर बढ़ते हुए दिखाई दे रहे हैं भारतीय वायुसेना के शक्तिशाली सुखोई 30 लड़ाकू विमान।
In a short while, the wick formation...
Prime Minister Modi in Assam. As you can see, these are the live visuals that we are bringing for you right now. The Prime Minister at the emergency landing facility on the Moran Bypass here, witnessing an aerial display by fighter jets, transport aircraft and helicopters. These are the live visuals that we're bringing for you from Dibrugarh, Assam. This is Prime Minister Modi's infrastructure focused visit in Assam today, where he is there to flag off the development projects worth over 5,000 crore rupees, which is aimed at strengthening connectivity, digital infrastructure, higher education, urban mobility across the Northeast. These are the live visuals, as you can see on your screens right now. This is the ALF facility, the first such facility in Northeast, which has been developed in coordination with the Indian Air Force, designed as dual-use infrastructure. It is here to support the landing and takeoff of both military and civilian aircraft during emergency. This is the display that we're seeing right now of the fighter jets, transport aircraft and the helicopters. There you can see Prime Minister Narendra Modi on your screens right now to unveil projects worth over 5,000 crore rupees in Assam's Dibrugarh.
The Sukhoi 30 is the mainstay of Indian Air Force. This air superiority multi-role fighter jet is capable of employing modern long-range precision weapons like BrahMos and Astra. It's one of the most agile platforms of the Indian Air Force. Its operations from this emergency landing facility, combined with lethal weapon systems, provide reach beyond borders in no time.
यह लड़ाकू विमान आधुनिक लंबी दूरी के सटीक हथियार जैसे ब्रह्मोस और अस्त्र मिसाइलों को संचालित करने में सक्षम है। यह भारतीय वायुसेना के सबसे फुर्तीले और सक्षम विमानों में से एक है। इस आपातकालीन लैंडिंग सुविधा से इन विमानों का संचालन अत्याधुनिक हथियार प्रणालियों के साथ मिलकर सीमाओं के पार भी त्वरित प्रतिक्रिया देने की क्षमता प्रदान करता है।
And now you'll witness the most demanding and rare demonstrations of the military aviation. Look to the right. Call sign Arjun.
All right, for more on this, we have Akash and Anindya Banerjee with us. Thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. Akash, let me come to you. How do you assess the significance of what we're seeing on our screens right now?
So right now we are seeing the capabilities of Indian Air Force, how the fighters and in fact the transport aircraft can land, on the emergency landing facility. And as you rightly pointed out, this is the first emergency landing facility in the Northeast area, where in Dibrugarh we are seeing Prime Minister Narendra Modi witnessing this air show and the air power of the Indian Air Force, where we have fighters like Su-30 MKI, Rafale, and also the transport aircraft like C-130J landing at this particular emergency landing facility at the Moran Bypass. And in fact, it is important to note that Prime Minister himself, landed at this particular emergency landing facility in one C-130J of Indian Air Force. And right now, this is one small, air show that Prime Minister is witnessing, and it is somewhere showing the capabilities of the Indian Air Force. We all know that how important emergency landing facilities are, given the fact that in any sort of contingency, Indian Air Force can in fact, land at these ELFs. We have a number of ELFs across the country. We know that how ahead of Operation Sindoor, we had seen in fact near Saharanpur how multiple fighters landed and took off from the same emergency landing facility. But right now we have this first emergency landing facility of the northeastern region, where very close to the borders, in fact the eastern border, we have this particular facility where in any sort of contingency this ELF can be used, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is inaugurating this particular ELF today. Aim.
Absolutely, Akash. When we also talk about this being a dual-use infrastructure, it can support landing and takeoff of both military and civilian infrastructure during civilian aircraft, pardon me, during emergencies. We have Anindya with us also. Anindya, what can you tell us?
Of course, as you rightly mentioned, it's a civilian and it's a dual use. But as Akash was mentioning, the political significance is huge. See, the fact of the matter is the Prime Minister himself landed over there. He wants to send a signal that it's meant for a purpose of helping the amping the armed forces, and in the terms of it's a contingency plan. The C-130J, the Lockheed Martins, all these, whenever there's a time of the need or whenever there's a flood, Assam wrecks on the flood most of the time. So we need to send stuff all the time. So all those cargo planes. We need to send, and they need. Dibrugarh is a place that gets they need to land. They get to land from now on, and also the fighter jet landing. It's an amazing facility from now on, and as the details are being articulated by Akash. That it's also a messaging for China also, because the border is not very far from there.
Right, Anindya, thank you so much for that. Now, Akash, let me come to you on that as well. When we talk about this emergency landing facility, which being the first in Northeast, what can you tell us about the capabilities? How many fighter aircraft can it accommodate in cases of emergency?
Right. So you see, it is of more than, in fact, close to 2 kilometers, and we have been given to understand that Air Force is, in fact, going to manage it with support of the NHAI and other agencies. And, it is, of course, the first of the northeastern region, but it is not the only one, because we have multiple, Air Force stations, air bases in that particular area, and it, in fact, will be, working in coordination with all those air bases. We have been told that, mobile vans that are in fact equipped with several sort of facilities that are required for landing and takeoffs have been deployed by the Indian Air Force for today. But as far as contingencies are concerned, we know that how maintenance is something that is very crucial for these emergency landing facilities, and that's the reason why Indian Air Force is going to provide all sort of support. You asked for the kind of aircraft that can land. So Su-30 MKI is landing at this point in time. In fact, we can see the landing of Rafale as well. These aircraft are going to take off. In fact, C-130J, the transport aircraft, can in fact land on this particular facility. And I was mentioning about the ELF, near Saharanpur. It is also very close to this particular region. And as far as Indian Air Force is concerned, so the focus is that whenever any sort of contingency is there, so Indian Air Force should be able to take off and land, and as far as reinforcement is concerned, because we know that at any sort of war or the sort of conflict, first focus of the enemy is of course to destroy the air bases, and this is what we have seen in the past conflicts as well. And this is the reason why Indian government and the NHAI in fact has been focusing on these emergency landing facilities. For the very first time in the northeastern region, we are seeing this particular facility, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to inaugurate it. In fact, we can see that Prime Minister is very much seated there, seeing the particular air show where we have these fighter aircraft, where we have these transport aircraft, and also we have been given to understand that helicopters will be coming. This is one air show that Prime Minister, along with the CM Assam, along with Air Chief Marshal, is very much, in fact, seated there, are going to, in fact, see this particular air show. This is somewhere showing the capabilities of the Indian Air Force, given the fact that Indian Air Force was leading from the front in Operation Sindoor, and it is somewhere a message that that in any sort of contingency or in any sort of conflict in the future, these landing facilities, in fact, can be used. And we can see a barrage of people, in fact, have come here to witness this particular air show, to witness the sort of landing and takeoffs that are happening. And right now we are showing, on our screens that how helicopters are very much there. This particular air show is being witnessed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well. Him.
Right. And then you were talking about the political significance of this as well. When we talk about the multiple infrastructure and developmental projects that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be unveiling today, this emergency landing facility, of course, stands out as a major monolithic figure in that during his visit.
Of course, there will be a slew of infra push throughout the day. He will be inaugurating, there will be infra push in the education sector. There will be a bridge, 6-lane bridge throughout the day. There will be a data center in the northeast. There will be a lot of things, a slew of infra push throughout the day in the pole-bound state. Remember, Assam is a pole-bound state, but this one indeed stands out because this goes beyond the realm of infrastructure, doing something that encapsulates national security. And as Akash was mentioning, that the importance of national security has been the foremost, focus of Prime Minister. And he has been sworn in as a Prime Minister in 2014, and he has been ramping up the border areas. Be it the LACs in the Ladakh area or be it in the northeast, there has not been this kind of modernization, if I may say so, as it has been in since 2014. And that's why probably we are seeing the kind of ramping up of modernization. That's why we are seeing the ELAs. Probably we haven't heard the kind of acronyms we are hearing as we today.
Right. Akash, let me come to you on that. We were talking about the strengthening of the Indian Air Force as well, especially in light of Operation Sindoor. We have seen India's strength and operational capability as well. We are seeing this display. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is there. Akash, what can you tell us of the significance of this going forward when it comes to India's arsenal and general preparedness?
Right. So, you see, straight from 2014, the focus has been on Atmanirbharta, and we know that how multiple steps have been taken in the past, especially after Operation Sindoor, when we are seeing a number of procurements for Air Force, where, in fact, just a day before, we have seen the ON granted for Rafale aircraft for the Indian Air Force. As far as Indian Air Force is concerned, so it is on a path of modernization, and we know that how, they have been procuring a number of weapon platforms and equipment, for any sort of contingency. We know that how a variety of platforms are being operated by Indian Air Force, and that's the reason why they say that Indian Air Force is one of the most versatile, forces, in the world today. They operate Su-30 MKI, that is from Russia. They operate Rafale, that is from France. Then they have their own LCA Tejas. Then they have MiG-29, again from Russia. And, a variety of other aircraft too. C-130J, we know that how C-130J is being operated by Indian Air Force as far as transport facility is concerned. They are also using AN-32, which is from Ukraine. In fact, from the Soviet era, and right now, a variety of helicopters. So as far as capabilities of Indian Air Force are concerned, so we know that how focus has been on Atmanirbharta, and a number of procurements are happening, at this point in time. But having said that, emergency landing facility play a key role, especially, during any sort of contingency, and not just contingency. We know that how, in the northeastern states, there are times when Air Force is required for several sort of, HADR missions, and at that point in time, your Mi-17 V5 helicopters or the other helicopters are required to land, and this particular facility can in fact be used for that particular task as well. We know that how eastern frontier is very close. Assam is considered as the gateway, to the states like Arunachal Pradesh, and we know that how in the areas like Tawang, where reaching by road takes a lot of time. At that point in time, these helicopters and these aircraft can be used, and this particular facility can play a key role. And this is also a reason why, we have Prime Minister himself, going for this particular inauguration. And in fact, it is not the only project. You rightly pointed out a number of development projects are going to be inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. And right now, what we are seeing on the screen is somewhere the demonstration of the special operation and also the kind of capability capabilities that Indian Air Force, where one helicopter has landed in any sort of contingency, how the forces can be deployed, how a helicopter can land on this particular facility, and how the patients can be evacuated, is somewhere, being demonstrated by these jawans, where we can see that how they are, in fact, showing that the patient can be transported from this particular emergency facility. A helicopter can be seen, and Prime Minister is very much there, seeing all these, demonstration. Su-30 MKI, of course, one aircraft, and Rafale are the two aircraft that landed and took off from this particular facility. Prime Minister himself landed in one C-130J, and now we are seeing these helicopters that are somewhere showing the sort of capabilities that our Jawans have, the sort of capabilities that Indian Air Force has. And as I was pointing out earlier, this particular facility can be integrated with the nearby air bases, nearby runways, and that's where, the ground support can be provided to the sort of aircraft that are going to land or are going to take off. We are seeing in fact, in the visuals, that how this helicopter is taking off now. A small air show was also, planned, and that has happened just a while back. And now we are seeing this demonstration that how Indian Air Force can operate in any sort of contingency or in any sort of HADR requirement where you need your helicopters, where, approaching the particular location from road is not possible, or any sort of a problem is there. At that point in time, how Indian Air Force can be deployed and how this ELF can be utilized is somewhere being demonstrated by Indian Air Force at this point in time.
Absolutely, Akash. Thank you so much for articulating that for our viewers and for breaking this down for us. Let's just listen in and take a look at this display.
To bid farewell to our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji. He is now departing from this venue, carrying with him pride and aspirations of the nation. His presence here today has further strengthened our resolve towards progress, security and self-reliance.
हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का कुशल नेतृत्व आज भारत को नई ऊर्जा, आत्मविश्वास और नई दिशा की तरफ ले जा रहा है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री एक दूरदर्शी मार्गदर्शक के रूप में राष्ट्र को नई सोच और नई दिशा प्रदान कर रहे हैं। उनके नेतृत्व में सड़कों, रेल मार्गों,
All right, for more on this, we have Major General A.K. Sivaj live with us. Thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast, sir. Always a pleasure to have you. How do you assess the significance of this emergency landing facility, this dual-use infrastructure project that Prime Minister Modi has unveiled today?
It's going to be a game changer and a force multiplier. It's the first time it has happened in Northeast. And remember that this will give you a dual purpose. One is that your civil aircraft can also land, as well as your military aircraft. And civil aircrafts are required basically for disaster management, because this area, especially Northeast, is also prone to number of disasters like floods and all, especially Assam, and also earthquakes. So you need to immediately send the relief and also a rescue operation to be conducted. And for that, you need airstrip, and which possibly may not be there in the time of emergency. So this, for a dual purpose which is being made now, is extremely good, and it will also enhance your strategic capability.